Hi everyone, my name's Michelle and I'm Mama Loves You GB here on Flosstube, and this is Christmas Eve. Welcome to day 24 of Flossmas. If you have been with me from the start, then congratulations, you have stuck with it. As I said yesterday, make sure you've got yourself a glass of something cold and fizzy or something warm and alcoholic, whichever you prefer, and sit back, enjoy. Let's face it, if we haven't got it now, we're not going to get it. Let's not worry about it. Just kick back, have a couple of glasses and just enjoy the festivities, because there's nothing else we can do now. How long I'm going to be able to keep this hat on, I am not entirely sure, but we shall see. Oh, that is so nice. The first of many, I hope. Right, I've got all the usual bits and bobs for you. I have got 2 FFOs, 2 sets of freebies. I have got a new start that I started today. Why not? Well, technically yesterday for me, but I started it today. I've got 2 of my kind of very first finishes that I ever did to show you. Thread Advent, all sorts of stuff, and a special little thing right at the end. So I'm going to take this hat off, my little Christmas dinner there, because it's just going to wobble about and bobble about on my head, and I can't cope with that, and I'd much rather get on with drinking. My glass of bubbly. Right, so I'm going to start off by showing you my first FFO. This is something that you saw me stitch during this set of videos, and this is by somebody who is new to me called Spooky&Steve on Etsy. Debbie from Creatively Yours showed a pattern, and I went and I grabbed it, and I grabbed this other one as well, and I love it. It's called Meet Me Under the Mistletoe. So I've just finished it as a long pillow finish, and it's stuffed with walnut shells and fibre fill, so just the walnut shells just give it a bit of a weight, and I've got a nice focus there, antique mother of pearl button up in the corner there on the bow. And it's just backed with some Christmas polka dot, and these things always flip up just as soon as you want to show them, they always flip up, and a couple of buttons and a 2020 charm there. So I'm really super pleased with the way that has finished up. And I said to you that I'd got some new fabric paints to try. These, oh, I can't even pick them up. These are the fabric paints. A box of 24 different colours, a couple of metallics, some neons, which I'm probably not that interested in, but they come as little bottles like that. And they've got the consistency of poster paint, but you can water them down. Ochre. You can water them down and you can mix the colours, so it's a really good set of colours there, and there are some more kind of prim colours in there to begin with. So what I wanted to do was to see if I could play around and use them a bit more like the Dynaflow, and a bit more like a stain, like a dye. So I was having a little mess around with some fabric, and this is one of the pieces that I did. And I used the plastic bag method, which I've shown on my walnut dyeing tutorial. So literally it's so simple. You just get a plastic bag, just a little food bag, wet your fabric, scrunch it up, chuck it in, put in some of the dye or stain or paint, whatever you want to use, and you just crunch it up. And that's what I did with that. I watered the dye down a little bit just to make it flow, because as I said, it's like a thick poster paint and it wouldn't really flow unless you watered it down. Watered it down with some really hot water, chucked it in the bag, crunched it up, and actually this one I did bake just because I normally leave them to dry in the garage, because you can't rinse these out because they're not set until they're heat set. So I normally just leave things like that to hang and dry in the garage, but it's so cold and wet, there's nothing drying in my garage at the minute. So, you know, I left it there for sort of 24 hours and it was still as wet as when we started. So I did dry it in the oven, just on a very low temperature. And I'm really pleased with the results. And as soon as you iron it, that is it set. So that is what I tried. I didn't try a lot of colour mixing. I was just working on the principle, does this actually work? Can I actually get this to work? And then I decided to have a go and see whether I could actually paint on fabric. Now, I'm not any great painter at all, but there's a little pattern that was in the Just Cross Stitch magazine this holiday season, so this Christmas season, and I'll put a picture up here, and it's a polar bear and it says Merry Christmas basically in the Northern Lights. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I could do a fabric that would kind of work for that. And so again, what I did was I watered down the paints. I just used a brush on this fabric. Actually was dry when I first started with it, and so this is kind of where I got to. Now the green is blowing out quite a lot there, but it's not that bright. And I've started to stitch the polar bear. Now I'm not 100% sure whether this is going to work, and actually the finished piece I think will probably end up sort of being about that size. But I thought I'd just give it a go, see what happens. Can I actually paint on it? Does it close the holes up too much, or am I still able to stitch on it at the end? So so yeah, I'll let you know how that piece goes on. It's just an experiment, isn't it? You never know. We'll wait and see what happens. Right, past finishes. Cheers. The two past finishes I've got here I've never shown, but they are probably the two of the things that I started with, and they're probably the place where lots of people actually start their cross-stitch journey. Their kits, they're stitched on Ada, and yeah, it was just a case of buy it, do it, and then it's done. And then of course you get a bit more interested, you move on from there. But I still think both of these are lovely, lovely kits. So the first one I'm going to show you, I actually stitched, I'm going to show you them out of chronological order actually. I stitched for my daughter's first birthday, and it was a height chart. Now this is a Veraco height chart, and it's the Noah's Ark one, and it's stitched on the Ada, stitched on Ada, and then just framed with a mount and in a sort of a plain simple black frame. Now one of the things when I was stitching this that I didn't really understand about was about the fact that you can see through white Ada, especially if you carry your threads like that. But I've not done it again. So that's the first one of my previous finishes that I was going to show you, and it does really stitch up beautifully. So I can recommend their kits if you're looking for something similar. And this one, I've actually stitched three of these birth samplers. One is for my daughter. I stitched one for a good friend of mine who had a son, and I stitched a birth sampler for him, and I gave it to them, and they said very loudly, we also have a daughter who's older, which obviously I knew, but I just never got around to stitching anything for her. So then I was like, right, okay, well you choose one that you want and I'll stitch another one for her. So my good friend of mine's got two of these, one for his daughter, one for his son. This is mine for Ness. And if anybody asks about a birth sampler, this is the one, or this is the company that I always suggest. It's called Riverdrift, and Riverdrift have got lots and lots of different birth samplers, but this is the one that I chose because it's a Welsh one. So although my partner and I aren't Welsh, my daughter is Welsh, she was born in Wales, so this is her sampler. So it's got the Welsh alphabet on instead of the English alphabet, so you can see that there are a few extra double letters in there, there are a few letters that aren't in there, so ones that are missing on there, you don't have a V, you don't have a K, in the Welsh alphabet. You don't have a Z, but you do have all of those other double letters which have their own sort of specific sounds. And then you can see you've got the mountains, you've got the castles, you've got the Welsh dragons, and then along the bottom there it just says her name and her date of birth. So apologies if you're getting some glare, but this is a framed one. So yeah, I will put the website down for Riverdrift, because Riverdrift have got loads and loads of different sampler things that you can buy as kits, and you can also buy the downloads on Creative Poppy. They used to be solely kitted with Ada, but some of the ones I've seen more recently have had a choice of Ada or Evenweave, I think. So the threads are fabulous, the materials that they give you are fabulous, and they're really worth looking at. So if that's something you're looking for, then I would definitely recommend Riverdrift. So I hope you don't mind me departing from kind of my style now to show you where it all started, really. Right, shall we do, let's do the first of the freebies. Oh, I can't leave that alone tonight. It's a good job it's only a little bottle, actually. I'm terrible at drinking a whole big bottle, well, I say a big bottle, a normal sized bottle of wine or Prosecco. I just get a taste for it. I'll have one glass of an evening, and then the next night I won't have the taste for it, and it'll end up going to vinegar in the fridge. So I quite often will just buy, or more often than not, I'll buy the little bottle, and then that's fine, it's done, it's drunk. But yeah, I might have to get another one tomorrow. So my freebies for you today are from the Linen & Threads 2020 stitch along. Now, quite a lot of you might be thinking, why are you showing us those? They've been out 12 months. We've already stitched them, or we knew we didn't want to stitch them. The reason that I'm showing you them is because the way that the Linen & Threads stitch along was presented, it was a big friends and family Quaker sampler. It was something like 250 stitches by 250 stitches. It was big, and it was released in 12 parts. And for a lot of people, they might have thought, well, no, that's not me. I'm not interested in doing that big a sampler or that particular style. So if you didn't sign up for it, or if you weren't downloading the charts, what you wouldn't necessarily know is that every single month there was also a free ornament. So what Brendan did was he took one of the Quaker sampler motifs and turned it into an ornament pattern. So what I've done is I've printed out 5 of them, I think, just to show you what they are. And obviously these are just, they're charted monochromatically, but you can just pick whatever colours you want. Oh, there's 2 on that page, I'm just gonna forget. So there's that one. Now these are all running at about 60 by 60, so they are a good size ornament. That one's a little bit bigger, 80 by 80. Beautiful kind of snowflake type ornament. Tulipy one. And these are all free to download, they're all still there. If you've never been onto the Linen & Threads website, you can find the 2020 freebie yearly sampler, you can find the 2019, the 2018, and there may even have been a 2017 one, I can't remember how far back it went. That's another one there. And then October had 2. It had one that was kind of like a ghosty ghouly one, and then he charted another one for people who weren't big on Halloween, which almost sort of reminds me more of a, I don't know, like an owl, something like that. So all of those, as I said, are monochromatic, so you can go to town on your colours, you can go to town on your fabrics, marvellous. Now the other thing that you can do with these that might not have occurred to you, and I'm going to show you the ghosty one because I like the ghosty one. Prairie Schooler, I showed you a couple of weeks ago. I showed you my little strawberry finishes. Prairie Schooler strawberry patterns are simply a semicircle. So if if you fancy having a go at making some strawberries, then you just stitch half, and then I can do this in midair with a piece of paper, and then you stitch it up into a strawberry, and you've got some really beautiful strawberry ornaments. Now I know a lot of the other strawberries they're not a semicircle, they are more of they're less than a semicircle. So you will end up with a kind of shorter, fatter strawberry, but we love a short, fat strawberry. And you could do that with any of those. You could just make them as an ornament, or you could stitch half of them and turn it into a strawberry. This one actually, if you wanted to get a longer, thinner strawberry, you could just stitch 1, 2, 3, 4 and bring them round, and you would have a matching pattern there, pretty much. Not quite, pretty much. But the safest way, if you want the patterns to match, is to just stitch half of them and then make them into some beautiful strawberries. So I just wanted to bring those to your attention if you'd not been aware of them, and if you had been aware of them, maybe give you another idea or two to go with it. So who am I going to talk to about all of these ideas that I have? I don't know. My daughter's going to be well up on cross stitch over the next couple of weeks. I am planning to do another video just before New Year, I think, and I'd like to move, instead of doing every 2 weeks, I think I'd like to do a shorter video but every week instead. So we'll see how that goes. See if you're sick of me. You might be going, oh God woman, stop, we've had enough. If that's the case, let me know and I'll go back to 2 weekly. But yeah, cheers. I'm not going to be able to string 2 words together by the end of this. Right, the Red Advent. So this is basically the house eviction. This is clearing everything out of the house. So should we start with the 2 that are in the bag? And I actually had a lovely message from Christina about these. She said, I can't remember what I sent you either, so it's just as much of an advent for me as it is for you. And she also commented, she said, I could actually do the same thing as you next year. I could buy all my own threads and I could put them in the advent calendar and I still wouldn't remember what they were. So that is a good point. Ooh, blues and greens, blues and greens. So what have we got? We have got Garrison Green from Weeks Dye Works. Again, that's one that I know crops up in quite a few different charts, so that will come in very handy. And this one, ooh, take your finger off it, is Weeks Dye Works Peacock, and it's got that bright blue. And what you may not be able to see, oh, I dropped it on the floor. Let's see if I got something white to put it against. What you might not be able to see. Again, I told you I couldn't. This stuff, I'm going to be rolling in the aisles. It has got a green that goes through it as well as that beautiful blue. I'm going to drop these on the floor as well. This is why I shouldn't be allowed to drink. All goes to pot very quickly and then I'll fall asleep. So if someone could just turn the video off and upload it, that'd be marvellous. Right, 24th. Ooh, a red. Racy red. Louisiana hot sauce, what a brilliant name. Look at that red. That is a Christmas red if ever there was a Christmas red. Look at that. I can't wait to use that. Right, now we've got Garrison Green kicking around as well. And then put the little door back. And this is day 25. And day 25 is how appropriate for Christmas Day, pandemic 2020. Swamp water. How appropriate. Oh, look at that colour, kind of browny greeny. If ever there was a 2020 colour, that's it, isn't it? Swamp water. Amazing. How very fitting to end on that. And that probably can't be said very often. Right, just before I go on to the very last thing, my last FFO and my last freebie, I just want to thank you so much for your company. You have really made my December. It's been such a joy to talk to you every day and to deal with your comments through all the crud that's been going on. I hope you've managed to find a few minutes of solace with a cup of coffee in the morning and a bit of Christmas cake or a mince pie or something a little bit stronger. Whatever you've wanted to. But I have so enjoyed doing this, and I can't wait to get back into January and talking about cross stitch and all the fun things. So this is my last freebie and my last FFO, and this is just a little something from me to you if you would like to stitch it for your collection, and just as a reminder. And here it is. So just a little stay classy. I've stitched mine on a 32 count Sparrow by Hazel Anderson, who is Foxglove and Lace, and it is stitched in Cardinal by Karen Waterlily, and it's backed in good old black velvet, which is my very favourite. And actually, although it looks a little bit Christmassy at the moment, I have chosen, well, I didn't do it on purpose, but it works out for me. Just like Laura loves her tab, I'm a Coke Zero girl. And so the red and the black perfectly fit me all year round, because that is my drink of choice, which is not very healthy for me, but it is what I enjoy. So stay classy. I will put a link to the file in my Google Drive and you can go and download it. It's a little bit awkwardly laid out, but I'm sure we can work from it. It's not too difficult. It is 130-ish by about 30, and so it really doesn't take up very much room on your shelf if you would like it. So I may see you before 2021. I may just dip into 2021. We never know. I might be clinging on by my fingertips to get to the end of 2020. We shall see how it all pans out. As I said, I've loved your company and I will see you again soon. Stay classy, stitchers.